Welcome back to the National Defense. It's Randy Miller, and you know this guy. Dolph Lundgren is with us. Of course, portrayed the Soviet boxer Ivan Drago in Rocky IV, which I just went back and watched, and I did not remember that James Brown was in that movie.
Yeah, that was a great day. We shot that in Vegas. I was a big James Brown fan. I was a drummer when I was a kid, so I loved all his the beats, the back beats and everything. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, so it was fun because I was there. I was a young, I was 27-year-old actor, and I had no assistants, nothing. I was just sitting in my dressing room in my boxing gear, waiting for somebody to come and knock on the door. And there's a knock, and there's one of James Brown's band members, in his glitzy costume, and he's like, "The Reverend Brown wants to see you." And I'm like, "Okay." And I went to see the Reverend Brown, and he was like, you know, welcomed me as the new kid, wished me all the best, asked me about where I was from, and it was really cool. And then he
That's
came
cool.
out, and the funny thing was he had to do like a playback, because they had the voice, they had the song playing. They were going to add it later because that's how they put the film together, and so he had to do all his dance moves, and he has to dance and kind of pretend to sing, but he had never done that because knew what to do was live. So Sly had to like get out there. I still remember in his boxing shoes, you had to show him how to do the different dance moves, and it was like hilarious. And
Oh,
anyway,
that's
it
so
turned out
funny.
well in the picture.
Oh, it was great, man. That movie still stands up, and it's still, one of my favorite movies, the entire Rocky series. But you were great in that, man. That was so good. Now, yeah, and I didn't know that you are also a chemical engineering major. You got your master's in chemical engineering. And
Yeah.
now you got this new documentary series called History's Greatest Machines with Dolph Lundgren on the History Channel. Starts Monday, June 1st. And that's got to be pretty exciting. And our audience is mainly active duty military veterans and their families. So obviously it's your crowd, right? I mean, it's
Yes.
especially with some of the machines. I was and I read that you're fascinated about how things are built and put together, and I'm the same way.
Yeah, thank you. Well, like you said, I was educated as an engineer, and then as a minor, I studied history of war in college. So my dad was an officer actually, and in Sweden when I grew up. So I kind of grew up hearing about World War II. He was always reading about that. Sweden was neutral, but obviously the Germany had invaded both Norway, and Finland was fighting the Soviet Union, and Denmark was invaded. So he was when he was a young man, 18, he was on the border uh, facing the Germans. So he was sort of never forgot that. And I think, the World War II was such a monumentous event, right, in world history that, when I grew up, I never forgot it either. So when History Channel came to me, and not just I get to talk about engineering, but also about military machines. I thought it was perfect. So I love it.
Yeah,
It's
I,
perfect for me.
I went I went to a conference in DC last year called the AUSA conference. It's the Army conference, and they had all of these technological marvels demonstrating all of them, all of these military weapons and drones and anti-drones and all of this stuff. And I mean, I'm just looking around at this gigantic space filled with all of these incredible machines, and it just made you so proud uh, to live in this country. Because I mean, all of these things that were built and are used by our military. It's just fascinating to me, and that's why I think the history's greatest machines with Dolph Lundgren. That's going to be a fascinating show.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, yeah, it makes you proud of living here in this country, and also of the people who came up with some of these ideas. Because
Right.
if you go back, say Second World War, even earlier, it wasn't just corporations, but individuals came up with some of these ideas. It was one guy who just had an idea of how do I change this engine into something better, and they would just persist until finally they got it made. And then another part of it was, you know, for instance, in the first episode of this series called Aerial Attackers, so it's about airplanes. And I think I was quite fascinated, for instance, about what people went through in those days because it was pretty crude. Like if you're a
Mm,
bomb on a bomb crew of a B-17, I mean the conditions these guys went up in. They're 18-year-old kids, 19-year-old
right,
kids. It's
right.
like 40 below, and they're hanging upside down in a gun turret where they're being bolted in and they're hanging there for like 8 hours, 10 hours. Imagine claustrophobia with a 50 caliber machine gun getting shot at. And if they got hurt, if they got injured or wounded, they were totally dependent on somebody opening that hatch from the outside.
Sure.
So it's
Yeah.
like, it's hard even to imagine, right, what people went through.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I'm always fascinated by the ingenuity and grit of anybody in the military, and just appreciate their service so much. We're talking to Dolph Lundgren here on the National Defense History's Greatest Machines, which is premiering on the History Channel Monday, June 1st, 10 p.m. Eastern. And I want to talk about your vodka.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me about your. I mean, you are into so many different things, man. You're a Renaissance man.
Thank you. Well, I'll try to be. We only have one life, so I'm trying to squeeze the most out of it here.
That's right. That's
Uh,
right.
Still squeezing. Yeah, one thing that actually I was dating my current wife, and we were up in Santa Barbara, and she was like, I was complaining, couldn't find a vodka I liked. She was, wait a second, you're a chemical engineer. You played a Russian. You're from Sweden. You should be able to come up with something. And I finally found one. I thought yeah, maybe she's right. Everybody's doing tequilas and I used to drink a lot of vodka when I was younger in Sweden. So we actually together started working on it, and then we found one in Idaho, American made, Idaho potatoes, hard cut vodka. So it's a bottle that looks a bit like Ivan Drago. It's kind of got the shoulders, and it's 90 proof. So it's a stronger version, like He-Man, stronger
Right.
and smoother because the potato base. So I've run the company now for a year or so. We're in Southern Florida, Southern California, and we're slowly trying to expand across the nation. That's kind of that's my day job now.
And it's called hard cut vodka. I
Hard
love it.
cut, yes, like hard
Yeah.
cut diamond or like
Yeah.
hard cut
I'm,
cherry.
I'm just I'm just picturing you as a young kid in Sweden, drinking vodka, listening to ABBA music, uh,
And James Brown.
and James Brown. That's right. We're talking to Dolph Lundgren here on the National Defense History's Greatest Machines with Dolph Lundgren on the History Channel. Santa Barbara, one of the most beautiful places on earth. And I got to go. I don't know if you've ever heard of Alisal Ranch. Do you know where
No,
that is
no.
near Santa Barbara? Oh, beautiful.
Allison?
Uh,
Allison.
Alisal, Alisal.
Alisol. No, I haven't.
Oh, it's a great place for vacation, horseback riding, no phones, no TV. It's just incredible. And
Wow.
it's right by Solvang, right by Solvang.
Oh, okay. Actually, I'm
Yeah.
going up there next weekend for driving up. No, at the end of San Ynez, right? It's up in that area. Solvang,
Okay.
yeah, right up that area.
And just lastly, Dolph,
Yo,
you've also had time to fit in a memoir here.
yes.
Fights worth fighting, finding strength in struggle, and just from the research I did about the book, I mean, so many things. I think a lot of people will be surprised about you, and also a lot of things that you've had to go through, including cancer.
That's right. Yeah. It was a great experience to work on the book. You're kind of soul searching and you're writing at the same time. You're remembering things that normally you never think about because you're busy, living your normal life.
Sure.
The cancer journey, yeah, I went through that. I started in 2015, kidney cancer. I was misdiagnosed. Fortunately, a friend of mine in California here was playing golf with a guy who knows somebody at UCLA. I sent my tests over to that person. It's actually a female doctor, and she she told me, "Oh no, you've been misdiagnosed. I've been on the wrong medication for 3 years,
Uh,
and I would have been dead now for sure. I only had maybe 6 months left or something." They said it was crazy because I wasn't feeling that bad, but and she put me on a different medication, and boom, it started changing in 2 weeks. And
wow.
2 years later, I was NED. They call it no evidence of disease. So
Hmm.
there you go.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes you wonder how many times that happens, right?
Yeah, so always get a second opinion. It's important,
Yeah,
and it is difficult because sometimes your doctor may not be very helpful to give you
right.
your journals, but it's your property. And in my case, it was the same. But I got it and I gave it to the other person, and it saved my life.
Well,
Yeah.
Dolph, great talking to you, man. Great to catch up, and looking very forward to History's Greatest Machines with Dolph Lundgren, June 1st, History Channel. And just nice to meet you.
Okay, my friend. Take care.